There's been another school shooting, this time at a Catholic school in Minneapolis. Now, last I heard, 2 innocent kids were dead. 14 innocent kids were injured. I grieve for the parents of those kids, especially the parents whose kids are never coming home from school again, never walking through that front door to sit down to a glass of chocolate milk as they talk about their day. But do you know what I feel even more? Anger, raw anger, not at the killer, but at the society that incubated that killer. The society that taught survival of the fittest rather than God loves you. Now, at this point, I don't know why this young man chose that particular school. Maybe he's been hurt by someone in the Catholic Church, which would be heartbreaking. But our society, Hollywood, and our education system helped create a monster, a shattered creature who finally vented his rage on defenseless children. Once again, you're going to hear the politicians demanding stricter gun control laws. But do you know what you are not going to hear? People asking, what is the cause of all the hate and violence? But folks, as disgusted as I am with the politicians, I'm even more angry with another group. This is Brad Bright. Welcome to the God is Issue podcast, where I shout God is the issue in every issue. Why? Because we can trace all our human problems to our view of God. Now, if you find this podcast helpful, please remember to like and subscribe. And when subscribing, don't forget to click on the bell so you'll be notified whenever I post a new podcast. Do you know who I'm most angry with? Christians. Christians sitting in the pews, pointing their finger at politicians and broken people rather than looking in the mirror. And most of all, folks, I'm disgusted with me because I haven't done everything in my power to provide the only real solution available to a very broken culture. I've done a lot, but I could do so much more. Folks, guns don't cause hate. Do you know why politicians are not going to focus on the cause of gun violence? Because they don't have a clue. Because secular culture has no answer to that question. Not when you start asking them to peel back the layers to get to the core problem. If they did, they would already be articulating it, but they aren't. Their best answer that they have is, we must suppress the symptoms of hate because we don't know how to deal with the cause of hate. The cause of hate lies in the human heart. Hate comes from the heart. How do you get rid of that? You see, hate is enabled by teaching survival of the fittest rather than do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Hate is stoked when I embrace my truth, my broken truth, rather than God's truth. Hate comes from right here, not from here. See, there's no systemic cause for hate. Therefore, government cannot get rid of hate. If it could, it would have already done it. Hate grows when I blame you rather than looking in the mirror. Hate flourishes when I view myself as a victim rather than someone created in the image of God with almost unlimited potential. Hate flows from focusing on what I can't do rather than on what God uniquely created me to do. Hate is the result of teaching children survival of the fittest while excluding the God who offers love. Now, I began saying over 10 years ago that if we get rid of guns, haters will just start using knives and baseball bats. A lot of folks just kind of dismissed me at the time. Now, what do you see going on in Britain? The average person cannot own a gun, so haters are using knives. There are activist groups in Britain advocating for knife control, outlawing certain kinds of knives. Go Google it for yourself if you don't believe me. So much for those folks who arrogantly dismiss me as an idiot. I genuinely hope they are embarrassed. They were so sure of themselves and so wrong. But do you know what? Even I missed one category of violence that's becoming quite common, using cars and trucks as weapons of mass murder. Are we going to try to outlaw cars and trucks as well? Folks, what's the real answer? It's not to continuing to indoctrinate children with DEI, which teaches that you should discriminate against those who discriminated against you. Rather, it is teaching children about the God who said, "Do unto others as you would have them do unto you." It's not teaching children that love is love, but that God is love. It's not teaching children that gender is fluid, but that God never says, oops. It's not teaching children more survival of the fittest, which leads to violence, but teaching them about the God who said, love your neighbor, which leads to peace. Folks, you think the violence is bad now? It's gonna get worse, I promise. You cannot teach a child that my truth is more important than God's truth and not expect them to act like self-centered 3-year-olds who want what they want when they grow up. If you teach a child that God is irrelevant, they are going to eventually act like it, just like this gender-confused young man in Minneapolis did. So don't be a sucker when secular politicians push gun control or trans rights in your daughter's bathroom. They literally don't have any better solutions. They actually believe the problem is systemic. But we know the cause is the human heart, and there is only one solution for that. It's the love of Jesus. Now, let me be blunt. Until one or two of things happen, it's only going to continue to get worse, even if they take away everyone's guns. And here are the two things. First, revival. Revival heals the human heart. Ultimately, revival heals culture. So pray for revival. Act towards revival. And second, putting God back in the school curriculum where children will learn they are accountable to a God who both loves them and who never says oops. So what can you do today? First, make sure you teach the children you love that survival of the fittest leads to hate and violence, but embracing the God who says love your neighbor leads to peace and safety. And then work to put God back into education, starting in your own community. Frankly, until we put God back into the schoolhouse, the problem is only going to get worse. Children will never be safe at school until we put God back into school. Now, second, start talking about Jesus, the Prince of Peace, everywhere you go. If you don't, who's going to? You see, Jesus didn't give the Great Commission to pastors, priests, and rabbis. He gave it to fishermen, tax collectors, and zealots. If you're not willing to talk about Jesus wherever you go, then violence is on you. It's your fault because you're not willing to do what you can do, either because of fear or apathy. Now, until you quit pointing the finger at someone else, it's not going to get any better. When you kneel before God on Judgment Day, God is not going to ask you why the government didn't do more, is he? The problem is not systemic. If it were, government could solve the problem. But no government has ever been able to solve the problem of hate and violence. The problem is a heart problem. Violence comes from the human heart. Look, a shrink can't heal the human heart. All they can do is teach coping skills. The only one that can heal the human heart is Jesus. So what are you going to do about it? Don't blame the government. Government can't change the human heart. Don't blame gun control activists. They don't know any better. And don't say it's your pastor's job. It's not. His job is to help equip you to make a difference. So look in the mirror. Then ask that guy, what are you going to do? See, God is the issue in every issue, especially the issues of hate, violence, and the man in the mirror. This is Brad Bright. Thanks for joining me today, and God bless.